Hola, Sai here, Wisdom of the Way, and today I'd love to share with you, some personal experiences and challenges that I'm living at the moment, some things that are alive in me, and I guess in some ways it's a little bit challenging to share because they feel very raw and alive and sensitive, but it helps in the sunshine. That's definitely helping this process. And really what I'd like to share today is around stress, overwhelm, preoccupation, feeling worry and concern. And yeah, in this moment what I see and I've been experiencing is that there's a lot of different thoughts, feelings, fears that are coming up. And to give some context, a part of this is the daily things that are alive, things that I feel like I need to do that are important. We've spent some time without, the electricity was broken in the house and there's no heating, which on a day like today doesn't really matter. But it is winter and and a few other challenges in the environment. It's been raining for a long time and that sort of shorter days as well, making some challenges in the external, but the internal experience and contemplation has really been about what I see is that there's a big vision to co-create something very special here and something also in my life, and I feel like it's what's being asked and what spirit and life is asking. And so it's inspiring and it feels like a dream. And then what I see is that it starts to feel overwhelming because it feels so big, and I start to feel this experience of feeling alone. On another level, I know that I'm not alone in many ways, but the experience of it is feeling alone, and in that lonely, and like carrying the weight of something on one's shoulders and in one's mind more so. And so I've had a couple of nights where I really would wake up and my mind would just start to think. Would see something or think of something, and then it would just go on like pulling that thread and just go. And maybe you can relate to it. Maybe I imagine it's something that everyone experiences. And that's also something why I wanted to share it, because what I realize is that this overwhelm and this stress and the loops in the mind and the creation of the story and the problem in the mind becomes so much greater. And what I observe in myself is that during the night when I couldn't sleep is that, a couple of things. Everything, the problem seems bigger. I feel less capable. So the mind is, what I observe in my mind is that it's feeling good because it's finding solutions to problems, and it's thinking this and that could be the answer to that, and this is the way of being able to work through this, or this might help the situation. So there's this problem solving of the mind. But what I see that in that state of when my energy is low, it's not optimal, there's it's more susceptible. I don't feel as strongly connected with this, that there's a place for, with this and with life and with my purpose, there's a place for fear and doubt, and how much more strongly that arises. And in the state of fear and in the state of doubt, how there are a lot more limitations created. And so the possibility of experiencing, feeling the infinite and being able to, because the mind is projecting and projecting on things that into the future that I obviously have no idea will happen. That it's like, to be a bit more clear, that it doesn't, the mind is projecting a future which is based on limitation, where, as we know, and when we're connected, there's a lot of limitlessness of what is possible, and so many things in our experience of life we could never have imagined, so many blessings, they're actually happening every day. And what I see is that in this state, in this lower state that I was experiencing, that the projections that I was creating about the future were very limited. They were and from that limited place was creating more fear. So the vision, the dream, started to feel very stressful, overwhelming. And so I tried to observe myself and understand, where is this coming from, and is this insight coming from my mind? Is it just my mind playing tricks and projecting fear? Or is there a deeper message? Is there also an intuition? Is it a message coming from my heart? And it was challenging, and it is, to really understand the truth in that, because both can exist. But for now and in this moment, the conclusion that I've come to is that, and what feels right in this moment, in this process, is that for me not to be able to sleep, or to be thinking incessantly for a couple of hours during the night. It's very clear that that's mental activity, that it's the mind. And if it's keeping me awake, then that really feels like a mental activity, and from there, that projection. Now, maybe useful things come up or some insights come up, but in terms of, because really part of this insight, or part of this feeling, was like, okay, so maybe the vision and the dream I have isn't what life's asking of me, isn't what I should be doing. Maybe it's too much, maybe it's unrealistic, or will I be creating will I be enslaving myself to my dream, to this ideal? Because it's very clear that it's really the relationship that I have with this dream, that's going to be indicative, that's really going to show whether, and is going to have a direct result on the experience. So it's very easy that a dream becomes a prison if my focus and my feeling is around achieving, around arriving, and it's really like the Camino, the Camino de Santiago, is like, if my focus is on just arriving to Santiago, then it really takes me out and away from the process of living it, and in living it is the richness, it's the real flavor, it's the full experience. And so, yeah, I'm just feeling really aware of it these days, and just trying to be compassionate and gentle. And I feel and I see that I'm in a process, and so rather than trying to escape it, and where it's awkward and uncomfortable, and I just want it to pass, to really try and embrace it and welcome it, and receive the wisdom from it, really. It's really clear to me that it's here to show me and to teach me. So I think this is one of the big insights, has been trying to observe where it's coming from, and I could see in this process that there's been a lot of, it's mostly coming from the mind, and in the mind there's also some useful insights to be aware of. I understand that the mind's, protect, its job, its role is to protect me and look for the best result. So but to be able to receive that and hold that within a particular context and go, okay, yeah, that's it. Now, yeah, the other thing is that every day it's different, but and in part of that process, there's like stronger, maybe more challenging moments and lighter moments. In this moment, I realize that I'm still very much in the process, and today, also amongst the sunshine, it's a bit lighter, but just also the lightness between my thoughts, and my mind is still busy and overwhelmed with many things, but there's also the possibility of just slowing down, realizing the beauty that's around me, the moments for gratitude, and that's also really feels like a important part of the practice that's so supportive. Mm. Yeah, and I think the other thing is that it's invited other kind of questions, existential questions, like what am I doing uh, with my life? What am I doing with my time, my precious time, our precious time? And they're great questions to hold because, really the questions that we hold, the answers, the life then becomes the answer to the question. So the questions that are in my awareness then become the response through my life. The life becomes the response to those questions. I think and I feel it's important to know where those questions are coming from. So if there's a question coming from fear, or is it a question coming from deep feeling and inspiration, or the intention to grow, to evolve, then if I know that if that's my questions coming from that place of evolution, and then the response, what I'm holding in my awareness, will respond to that question, and there's only going to be progression on the journey. And so, yeah, I think it's also really humbling and beautiful, sometimes daunting, and just remembering that there's nowhere really that need to arrive. There's nowhere where I need to get. Yes, it's nice to achieve some things today and whatever might be important, but to hold it within with compassion, and to remember, and not to take the path at the cost of living today and the beauty of today and the gift of today. And yeah, now that's easier said than done, and that's where the practices for me really become so important and powerful to really change my state and cultivate that optimal energy. And some days it's easier than others, and some days the mind just feels very strong, and or that the focus on achieving things is overwhelming, and and so in some of those moments the practices don't they still what I realize is they still help when I detach from the need for them to have a result. So remembering that I'm not practicing just to feel good and to get better, but actually to be more present, maybe to see the fear or that's arising, or the overwhelm, and just to acknowledge it. And maybe it helps me express it, which is a part of that process of that energy and that emotion moving. And I see how it changes, and it constantly continues to change. So yeah, that's what's alive in me today here on the Camino, which is pretty quiet at the start of winter. And I think that's also the part of this season that's inviting to go in, and there's less distractions, and and so there's less place to to ignore or escape as well. And so it's really asking for this focus and this attention these days. And it's really worthy, I think, probably. And I feel that there's probably nothing more worthwhile than this, moving closer to myself, and acknowledging and holding and healing, and yeah, accepting and letting go. And let's see. Yeah. I'd be really interested to know mm, how this theme, how this topic of overwhelm and stress and mental activity, how it plays out for you, and what you do to support yourself in these experiences. And I think, yeah, if you feel inspired to share, it'd be great. I think the sharings of each other, they really help us all in terms of remembering that this is really normal, and to find some togetherness in these moments, and feelings of connection, remembering that we're not alone. Because yeah, it's very clear for me in these moments that that's what the experience is an experience of of separation, um, which I actually don't feel is actually the ultimate truth and is really happening, but it's an experience that's happening in the mind and in the projection. So, in the winter sunshine, and the blessings from the Camino de Santiago, wishing you a beautiful journey, the inner and the outer journey, the inner and outer Camino, and blessings on your way always.